Most people think the greatest danger in the last days is sin or unbelief. But according to Jesus, the real danger is something far more unsettling. People who still believe, yet no longer stay awake. In the next few minutes, I want to show you why Jesus said he would come at an hour you do not expect, and how staying spiritually ready has nothing to do with dates and everything to do with the condition of your heart. We live in a time when information has never been clearer, yet awareness has never been weaker. People know the signs, they've heard the sermons, they've read the scriptures, and still something feels dull inside. Faith remains, but urgency fades. Life feels full, yet the soul feels tired. This message is not about fear, and it is not about predicting the end. It is about understanding why so many sincere believers quietly drift, not away from God, but into comfort, routine, and spiritual sleep. If you've ever wondered why your faith feels different than it once did, if you've ever felt close to God, yet strangely distant at the same time, then this conversation may be more important than you realize. Because the hour Jesus warned about does not arrive with noise or chaos. It arrives quietly, when life feels normal and hearts assume there is still time. There are some words spoken by Jesus that we hear when we are young and think we already understand. We hear them so often that they begin to feel familiar, almost ordinary. But the truth is, those words are not old at all. They simply wait. They wait for the right season in our lives to speak again, with a deeper voice than before. The Son of Man will come at an hour you do not expect. You may have heard that sentence many times, in church, in sermons, in conversations about the end times. And like many people I have spoken with over the years, you may have assumed it was about a moment in time, a specific day, a sudden event somewhere in the future. But the longer I live, the more convinced I become that Jesus was not pointing us to a date. He was pointing us to the heart. Let me ask you something, honestly and simply. Have you ever felt this way? You still believe, you still pray, you still go to church when you can, yet deep inside, there is a quiet weariness that is hard to explain. Not because of some great failure, not because you walked away from faith, but a tiredness that comes from life itself, from responsibility, from aging, from a world that feels louder, faster, and heavier than it used to. A close friend of mine, now in his 60s, once said something that stayed with me. He said, "I still believe Jesus is coming. I just don't feel the urgency the way I used to." He didn't say it with guilt. He said it with honesty. And I believe that honesty is exactly what Jesus was speaking to when he said, "An hour you do not expect." He was not describing a hidden hour on heaven's calendar. He was describing a condition here on earth. A moment when the heart slowly settles. When waiting turns into routine. When faith remains, but the fire no longer burns the way it once did. I want you to imagine something with me. A very ordinary morning. You wake up, make your coffee, look out the window. Everything seems normal. No thunder, no crisis, no dramatic signs. The news keeps moving. Life goes on. And it is in moments just like that, Jesus tells us, that the real danger appears. Not when the world is falling apart, but when everything feels fine. Scripture never says the final generation will lose its faith completely. It says they will fall asleep. And sleep does not mean rebellion. Sleep means being present, but not alert. Believing, but no longer sensitive. Waiting, but assuming there is still plenty of time. Over many years of walking with people, I have learned this. Very few lose their faith in a single moment, but many lose their watchfulness slowly, quietly, year by year, until one day they realize they are no longer where they once were. Psychologists call this adaptation. When something stays the same long enough, even something important, the human mind begins to treat it as normal. The heart adjusts. And faith can do the same. Many of us have heard about the return of Christ for decades, long enough that it no longer startles us, long enough that warnings no longer quicken the pulse. And I believe Jesus knew that would happen. He does not accuse us of being weak. He understands our weariness. But he warns us that weariness, if left unattended, becomes sleep. In Scripture, sleep is not about sin. It is about dullness. Prayer continues, but expectation fades. Worship continues, but the heart no longer trembles. Faith is confessed, but it no longer shapes how we live. I have met many people who say, "I haven't done anything wrong." And often, that is true. The problem is not what they have done wrong. It is what they have slowly stopped doing. They stopped listening. They stopped sitting quietly in God's presence. They stopped asking whether their hearts were still awake. In the parable of the 10 virgins, what always unsettles me is this detail. All 10 believed. All 10 waited. All 10 slept. None were condemned for sleeping. The difference was the oil. Oil is not knowledge. It is not activity. It is not religious identity. Oil is built slowly, quietly, over time. In private moments with God. In faithfulness during dry seasons. In returning to Him even when the heart feels empty. And oil cannot be borrowed. No one can stay awake for you. No one can keep your heart tender for you. At some point, each of us stands before God with our own inner life. Imagine someone who lived a good, honest life, worked hard, loved family, believed in God, but always assumed there would be time later to slow down and draw closer. Years pass, strength fades, passion fades. No great fall, just a gentle drifting. That is the hour Jesus warned us about. Not because we lacked information, not because we were never told, but because we became comfortable delaying what mattered most. After listening to many people near the later seasons of life, I have noticed something. What they regret most is not their failures, but the days they lived without being fully present. And spiritually, the greatest danger is not falling, but losing desire. Jesus is not looking for a perfect church. He is looking for living hearts. Hearts that are still responsive, still tender, still willing to draw closer than yesterday. So when we talk about being watchful, we are not talking about fear. We are talking about awareness, about living each ordinary day with God near the center again. If you feel slower now, if you sense the fire is not what it once was, that does not mean it is too late. It may simply mean Jesus is gently calling you closer, because the hour you do not expect is not meant to steal hope. It is meant to wake it up, while there is still time to return, to refill the oil, and to live the days ahead with a heart that is truly awake. And that is where we will continue next. Not with fear, but with hope. Not with pressure, but with love. When we talk about the hour you do not expect, there is something important many people have missed over the years. Jesus was not describing a moment of chaos, panic, or sudden terror. He was describing something far quieter, almost too quiet. He said people would still be eating and drinking, working and building, planning and celebrating. Life would continue as usual. And that detail matters. Because when life feels unstable, people become alert. But when life feels normal, hearts tend to relax. Have you noticed that? When everything feels steady, we let our guard down. When we are younger, we often think deeply about God, eternity, and the meaning of life. But as we grow older, as routines settle in and responsibilities become familiar, something shifts. Not because we stop believing, but because belief slowly moves to the background of daily life. A psychologist I once spoke with explained it this way. The human mind is not most vulnerable to danger when danger is obvious. It is most vulnerable when something important becomes familiar and predictable. Over time, familiarity dulls awareness. Faith is not immune to that. Many of us have heard about Christ's return for decades, long enough that it no longer surprises us, long enough that warnings no longer stir the heart the way they once did. And I believe that is exactly what Jesus was addressing. He does not condemn weariness, he understands it. But he warns that weariness, if left unattended, slowly turns into sleep. Sleep in Scripture does not mean living in sin. It means living without alertness. Prayer continues, but expectation fades. Worship continues, but the heart no longer responds. Faith is still spoken, but it no longer shapes the way we live. Over the years, I have spoken with many people who said, "I haven't done anything wrong." And often they were right. They had not fallen into serious sin. The problem was not what they did wrong. It was what they gradually stopped doing. They stopped listening quietly. They stopped sitting still in God's presence. They stopped asking whether their hearts were still awake. The parable of the 10 virgins has always unsettled me for one reason. All 10 believed. All 10 were waiting. All 10 fell asleep. None were condemned for sleeping. The difference was oil. Oil is not knowledge. It is not religious activity. It is not outward identity. Oil is built slowly, quietly, over time. In private moments, no one sees. In faithfulness during dry seasons. In choosing to return to God even when the heart feels tired or empty. And oil cannot be borrowed. No one can live your inner life for you. No one can stay spiritually awake on your behalf. At some point, each of us stands before God with our own heart, shaped by years of small choices. Imagine someone who lived a decent, honest life, worked hard, loved family, believed in God, but always assumed there would be time later to slow down, to go deeper, to draw closer. Years pass, strength fades, passion fades. There is no dramatic fall, just a gentle drifting. That is the hour Jesus warned about. Not because we lacked information, not because we were never warned, but because we became comfortable delaying what mattered most. After many years of listening to people in later seasons of life, I have noticed something. What they regret most is not their mistakes. It is the days they lived on autopilot. Days that passed without presence, without depth, without awareness. Spiritually, the greatest danger is not failure. It is losing desire. Jesus is not searching for perfection. He is looking for hearts that are alive, hearts that are still responsive, still tender, still willing to draw closer than yesterday. That is why watchfulness is not about fear. It is about awareness, about living ordinary days without letting them numb the soul, about refusing to let busyness silence what truly matters. If you feel slower now, if you sense the fire is not what it once was, that does not mean you are too late. It may simply mean you are being invited to come closer again. Because the hour you do not expect was never meant to take hope away. It was meant to wake us gently while there is still time to return, to refill the oil, and to live the days ahead with a heart that is awake once more. As we come to the final moments of this conversation, I don't want you to walk away feeling heavy. I hope you leave feeling quieter inside. Because if you've stayed with me this long, that tells me something important. There is still a part of you that is listening, a part of you that has not fallen asleep. The hour you do not expect was never meant to be a threat. It is a loving reminder. Jesus did not say those words to frighten people, but to help them pause before drifting too far. He knows how easily we grow tired, how naturally we delay, how quickly we assume there will always be more time. You don't need to make a dramatic change tonight. You don't need to fix your entire life in one moment. True watchfulness often begins very quietly, with a pause, with an honest prayer, with a small decision to draw closer, even just one step. I've heard many people say they feel it's too late to begin again. But after years of walking alongside others, listening to their stories, and watching lives unfold, I have never seen God turn away a heart that truly wants to return. Not once. He is not looking for strength. He is looking for closeness. Not perfection, but presence. You may not have as many years ahead as you once did, but the years you do have can be deeper, calmer, and more real than ever before. Not because you will do more, but because you will live more awake, love more clearly, wait with a heart that understands what truly matters. If there is one thought I hope stays with you after this video, it is this. Don't let your spiritual life run on momentum alone. Don't let ordinary days cause you to forget eternal things. Give yourself permission, even today, to stop and ask one simple question. Where is my heart right now? No one else can answer that for you. But the fact that you are willing to ask it already speaks of awareness. The hour you do not expect is not meant to make you afraid. It is meant to remind you that every day is precious. Every day is an opportunity to keep the lamp burning a little brighter, to keep the oil a little fuller, to live not just by habit, but by presence. And if, as you listen, you sense a quiet invitation stirring within you, that may not be coincidence at all. It may be a gentle call to come closer, not out of fear of losing something, but because love is still there. Thank you for sitting with me through these moments. If these words have touched something in you, I invite you to stay connected with this channel, so we can continue having these slow, honest conversations together. Not to predict the hour, but to live the days we have with greater awareness, deeper peace, and a heart that remains awake.